Okay. All right, well, hello everybody, and wonderful that you've joined us. Thank you very much. Lovely, Lawrence, to see you. I know you're actually reading Hebrew so well, but it's wonderful that you've joined us nonetheless. Reva, I'm sure, will join us. She's in a bit of a hectic time at the moment, and Cassia and Harriet have both apologized. But I'm very keen to get on to lesson 8, and we've also got a number of people who've got load shedding tonight. So I suggest we just push on, and I know that Reva will join us sometime through the lesson. So, ladies and gents, we are on lesson 8. And here we are doing a very, very important set of letters, a concept a little unfamiliar in English, but really not a difficult concept once you get your head around it, and it will enable you to really read from the prayer book, because a lot of letters, I mean, a lot of words in the prayer book have these particular features. So if you don't recognize it, then, you know, you look at the word Baruch, you can't understand it. So it's very important to do lesson 8. So these are the letters and vowels we have learned so far, which is to say actually everything other than the shva, the silent vowel, which we do last. So we've learned Aleph, Bet, Vet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Chaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pei, Fe, Tzadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Sin, Taf. And vowels A, I, A, E, O, U, and U. So now let's just, in order just to revise, can I please have a volunteer to tell me, I see Peter hasn't joined us. I know she's busy with her move, but I hope she will join us. Who can tell me at least one letter where we have 2 letters with the same sound?
Samech.
Good. So we've got the samech here, which says sa. You can see my cursor, right?
Yeah, and what?
And then we've also got the sin, the shin and the sin. Good. What else? What else have we got 2?
Kuf.
Kuf. Good. We have got the kaf, ka, and we have got the kuf, ka. There you go. Thank you. Jacob, I missed you.
The tough.
The tough. Well done. We have got the tet here, and we've got the tough over here. 1 more. 2 more.
Hey.
Pay. Good. And no, pay. Pay is the only one. It's pay.
Vav.
Vav. That's right. So we've got the vet over here, and the vav over here. They both say va. And then finally, we've got the aleph and the ayin that are both silent. Same sound. So there are our letters, which are the same, different letters, but have the same sound. Okay.
They don't have any sound.
Anybody, no sound, in other words, the aleph and the ayin. Anybody want to ask any question about the vowels? A, I, A, E, O, U, U. Any questions about the vowels? If not, let's get on to our final letters. So here's a funny thing about Hebrew. Just these 5 and no others. When these 5 letters come at the end of a word, they change their form physically. So you see the kaf here. The kaf is this round letter. Now all that happens is you take the bottom of the cha or the ka and you yank it down as if it's a piece of wire or string. You yank it down so that it now falls in a straight line. And then it still looks kind of like a cha or a ka, can be a cha or ka. But when it's at the end of the word, it has the straight line instead of the rounded form. It's still a ch. If it's got a dot in, it's still a k. But because it's at the end, it takes a different form. So the word Baruch, as you'll soon see, you know, people always say, I try to read my first word Baruch. What is this? Because the last letter is unrecognizable. Why is it unrecognizable? Because it's a ch. But because it was at the end of the word, we took the little bottom horizontal piece here and we just pulled it straight so that it forms a right angle from the top and it's still a ch. Then you've got the mem. Here, remember the mem with the hole at the bottom? Same mem, but now they just filled up the space here. So it kind of looks like a square. It's still got this little indentation here, but it comes at the end of a word, you close up the space. And there you have the mem, shalom. So one very obvious word, Baruch, then you got the word shalom. You want to read the word shalom, suddenly it's unrecognizable. What was all that time spent on Hebrew for? You can't read the word. Now you can read the word. Nun. So you remember the nun? The nun is not like the vav. It's got this little horizontal part at the bottom. And then they take the horizontal part and they sort of yank it as if it's a piece of wire. You just yanked it down so it's in a nice vertical position, forming a kind of a right angle there, just like the ch. Sometimes it's easy to confuse the final ch with the final n, just as it's easy to confuse the nun with the chaf. The difference, of course, is that the nun is a much narrower letter. The kaf chaf is wider and it remains wider. So there we have the final nun. Take the word Adon. You thought you learned to read Hebrew, you look at the Adon Olam, you can't recognize the word. What happened? Because the nun is a final nun. Same with the pei and the fei. So there's the pei, this one is a fei because it's got no dot. You take the little bit at the bottom, which is its little horizontal leg over here, and you yank it downwards if it's like a piece of wire. Hello, lovies. Please close the door because I'm teaching Hebrew. Sorry not to greet you nicely. Family coming in from the day. So you take this little horizontal leg here and you yank it downwards so that it stands now at right angles. Exactly the same thing that you did with the kaf, chaf, and with the nun. You just change it from being at a right angle to now pointing downwards. And exactly the same with the tzadi. You take the bottom of the tzadi and you make it into a straight line. Why Hebrew wanted a straight line at the end of the word, nobody knows. It must have offended somebody's eye somewhere along the line. It was an aesthetic choice, perhaps. But nonetheless, they all follow the same pattern other than the mem. The mem, instead of following the same pattern, they closed it up. Everything else, they yanked into a long pointing down stick. So if you look at the letter, you know, just look at it, the kaf, the chaf. You can see it's the same. The mem is perhaps less familiar. The nun, the fei, the tzadi, they're all the same, but you are dealing with the final letters. So we're going to skip that page because I don't think it's a helpful page. And we're going to go on to this one. So this is page, I'll tell you now what page it is. It is the bottom of page 60 if you have your book with you. In fact, you know what's not a bad idea is the top of page 60. So let's, at the top of page 60, okay. No, excuse me for changing my mind, but I'm going to change my mind and go back to page 59, which I said wasn't helpful, but actually it is helpful. So, thank you, Lawrence. So, you know what Noam Chomsky said? He said the worst thing about being an academic is that you are discouraged from changing your mind. because you have already attached your name to an idea. But let's say you change your mind, then you must say so, because otherwise you will never learn anything new, because the essence of learning is to be able to change your mind. You might have said that the earth was flat, but once you learned that it's round, it's better to say so. So there you go. So let's look at the cha. The normal form of the letter cha, as in Bach, chamocha, shachav. We all recognize that. The word chamocha, the word shachav. Now what happens to the cha? It comes at the end of the word and it changes its form. Now, what's going to confuse your eye a little bit is the fact that they've put in this shva, the silent vowel, into the cha. So for now, just disregard it. We'll come to the silent vowel and while it's there. But for today, don't worry about it. What we do see is we see that the word lach. So if they had written lach with the rounded chaf, it would still say lach, but it would look wrong somehow. Lach. Similarly, elech. Lach, yours, feminine. Elech, to you, feminine. Lach and elech. So suddenly it looks a bit different. And as you'll soon see, also the word Baruch, written exactly like that. So let's do the second one, which is the mem. So the normal mem, beginning of the word, middle of the word matzah, and shomer, banim, mother, banim, children. Children, male children, boys. Banim. It's at the end of the word. So instead of being the normal mem, they closed it up at the bottom, like a kind of a square. And banim. Because it's a final mem. Now let's take the nun. Normal form of the nun, nata, shana. Normal nun, like we know it, all good. Then we go on to the final nun, ben. They just took the nun, they elongated the bottom, ben, and amen. Imagine you can't read the word amen after you learn to read Hebrew because they've got this funny nun at the end. And you can see what happens with the final letter is it's longer. So it goes below the line. So if you're writing on a line, your final letter actually goes below the line. It protrudes into where the vowel would be because, of course, it doesn't get a vowel because it's at the end. So when you learn to write Hebrew, you see that it protrudes below the line that you're writing on. Nata, shana, ben, amen. Let's do the others. The fe or the pei, in this case, a fe, nafal, easy enough. The word fell, he fell. Shofar. What happens when it's at the end? Af, kanaf. Same letter, they took the bottom horizontal piece, they pulled it down to make a straight line. Af, kanaf. And the same with the tzadi. The tzadi, tsava, ratza. And then comes at the end of the word, you yank the bottom into a straight line. Eretz. And eitz, eretz as in Eretz Israel, eitz as in tree. So you want to read the word eretz as in Eretz Israel, you look at it, you can't understand it, looks half familiar but not quite. It's the final letter, eretz and eitz. So now we come to read the lines. So let me read the first two, and then I'll start seeing if there are volunteers who will read for us. So let's look at the first one. So they've been clever here. They've got the kaf, so you can see the normal form, and then you've got the cha. Kach. Bach. Now what might confuse you is it's got these two dots. Do the two dots make it a ka or a cha? Now the two dots, I'm sorry that they use the two dots before they've been taught, but anyway, they do. So the two dots simply tell us in this instance that there is no further vowel to worry about. Don't worry, there's no vowel. So it kind of just ends the word. So if it was one dot, it would be kak, but it isn't. It's kach, because the two dots are just telling you end of word. If it's one dot, it's changing the sound. Bach, bacha, lach, sich, alecha. So now the cha got a vowel in it. Look where the vowel goes. Isn't that weird? It goes up. You would think the vowel would remain where it always was below the line, but no. Now it migrates upwards. Alecha. So when a final letter gets a vowel, the vowel rises up to the body of the letter. Alecha. Beitech. Kach. Bach. Bacha. Lach. Sich. Alecha. Beitech. Line 2. Look what they've done. A mem and a mem. Mim. Mayim. Im. Emek, normal. Lahem. Final mem. Lahem. Lechem, as in bread. Also Bethlehem, Bethlehem. Hem. Hem. Let me do one more. Let's do 3. Same story. Nun and nun, they're showing you the two together. So this word is nun. What does nun mean? It means nun, the letter nun. Nun. Mina. Brian is joining us. Nun. Mina. Ben. So mina, normal nun. Ben, very important word in Hebrew, son of. Ben. Eden, as in Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden. Also the name Eden. Eden. Haman, we know him. Neder. Nelech. That's the nuns. So a quick moment just to welcome Brian. Brian, I see you've joined us. We're very happy to have you. Hello, Brian. Brian, we're doing lesson 8. It's the final letters. I think you probably know them, but if you've got any questions, you must just shout. So lines 1, 2, and 3, the final ch, the final mem, and the final nun. So any takers for line 1? Any volunteers?
I'll do it.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
No, you go ahead.
Let's
Okay.
have Robin, and then we'll get Marion as well. Thank you, Robin.
Okay. Kach, bach, bacha,
Good,
lach,
good,
sich,
good,
alecha,
good, good.
beitech.
Brilliant. Marion, will you do line 2 for us?
Mim, Mayim,
Mayim.
Mayim,
Good,
Em,
good,
Emek,
good,
Lahem,
good,
Lechem,
good.
Hem.
Excellent. Mom or Dad, what about you for line 3?
Okay.
Good,
Name.
Mom.
Name.
What's your vowel?
Noon. Noon.
Nun. That's right.
Nun.
Nun, as in the letter nun.
Nun. Mina,
Good.
Beis,
Bin.
bin.
That's right. Ben.
Aiden.
Good.
Okay, so we got Ben and Aiden together.
Ah, that's right.
Haman.
Come on. Good.
Nedar.
Ne.
Neder.
Good.
And Galech.
Not Gaba.
Nalech.
Nelech. Nelech.
Nelech. Yeah.
Good. So
My
you see
nun
they're
look like
combining.
it.
That's right. They're combining now. So they're testing the final letters, but they're also throwing in a few other challenges here and there. So, Brian, I'm going to call on you if you don't mind, but first I'm going to just read line 4.
Yes.
So the first word is quite difficult. And you see it's a P, and then it's a F, and it's an A. Puff,
Tough.
as in the magic dragon. Peric. Duff.
Anna.
Kanaf.
Elek.
Elif. Elif. So it's a F, not a Ch. Elif. And Purim.
Purim.
Purim. Of course, it's Purim.
Purim.
So, Brian, try for us line 4.
Puff. Perek.
Good.
Puff.
Good.
Naf.
Good.
Lef.
Elif.
Purim.
Purim. Well done, Brian. You read beautifully.
And
Well
that's all
done.
about Purim, is that right?
That's right, Brian. So that's Purim. Good. So now I think everybody, you've got the hang of it. So, I don't know. They're just pointing out that, I guess they're trying to point out that the Dalet looks like the final Chaf. And it does, but the final Chaf protrudes below the line. It's true, it does look like a Dalet. And that's Cha, because it's got a silent vowel, although they haven't introduced the silent vowel yet. And then that's an A, so it's Cha. Cha. But it's true, it does look like the Dalet. And then they just point out that the final Mem looks a bit like a Samech, but a Samech is much rounder than the final Mem. And of course, the final Mem is at the end. And then they also point out that the V and the final Nun are similar. It's true they are, but of course the final Nun protrudes below the line and is at the end. So now, why don't we all read this together? But I suppose with our microphones off, otherwise it'll be irritating. And then, yeah, if you can, yeah, there you go. So I'll start. Kad. Kach. Sod. Soch. Aim. Ace. Bis. And bim. Any questions? Kad, kach, sod, soch, aim, ace, bis, and bim. Line 2. Bon, bo, banu, banun, kaf, mitz, and adam. Any questions? Ben, bo, banu, banun, kaf, mitz, and adam. There you go. So we're going to skip the chart. It's really for writing. Here's a little exercise if you want to circle all the letters that say na, all the letters that say cha, all the letters that say mum. Okay, so I'm going on. I'm going on to Aleph, which is on page 64.
64. Yeah.
So here they do, they love doing this little thing because they presume that you're learning by yourself. So they try and give you ways where you'll recognize words so that you can kind of hear them. So who can tell me what they've done here with this line on the top of 64? What are we looking at the top here? Sound it out to yourself and tell me if you know.
The alphabet.
Alphabet.
Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud. They say Yud, I'd say Yud. Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pei, Tzadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Sin, and Taf. And then they ask you to circle words that sound alike. Okay, it's an exercise. Let me just point out this word. Everybody see this word over here, the last one on the line. That's the word.
Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. You can't read the word shalom if you don't know about the final letters. So here are pieces from the prayer book which really are nice to do because they are familiar to us. So let me do 3 lines and then we can see if people want to read or how we want to do it. Line 1. Et Shem HaMelech Hagadol Hagibor. So the ones where you needed the final letters are Shem, the name, Shem, Hashem, the name, HaMelech, Melech, the king, Melech. So interesting. If you just think that, let's take a simple bracha for the one. Baruch, there's a final letter. Ata Hashem Adonai. Eloheinu Melech, another final letter. Ha'olam, another final letter. Borei Pri Hagafen, another final letter. So within that simple bracha, you've got 4 final letters. So honestly, you can't read Hebrew if you haven't been taught these final letters. Et Shem HaMelech Hagadol Hagibor. Line 2. Kadosh Hu. Kulam Shamayim. Quite a hard word because you've got to look at each one separately. Shamayim. If a word looks difficult or overwhelming, just cover it with your hand and just uncover one letter at a time. Shamayim. Shamayim, the heavens. Ze mize. So this line, just kulam and shamayim. You require the final mem to be able to read it. Look at line 3. Baruch Melech HaOlam Yotzer Or. So the first 3 you need to know. The final letter, Baruch Melech HaOlam. If we go on to line 4, there are 2. Uvorei Choshech Ose Shalom Uvorei Et Hakol Hameir La'aretz Aleha. So they sort of depart from the text, but okay. Baruch Melech HaOlam Yotzer Or Uvorei Choshech Ose Shalom Uvorei Et Hakol Hameir La'aretz. And they've left out the word Veladarim Aleha. So can you see, if you read lines 3, 4, and 5, it means you're reading the prayer book successfully. Baruch Melech HaOlam Yotzer Or Uvorei Choshech Ose Shalom Uvorei Et Hakol Hameir La'aretz Veladarim Aleha. So you can see that once you've mastered these final letters, you can read the prayer book. Line 6. Amo, Tamid, Chadash, Al Zion Ta'ir. So it's a bit confusing. They've taken sort of phrases out of the prayer book, but then they've left out words if they're difficult. Bachar Banu, Mikol Ha'amim, Natan Lanu, Et Torato, Noten HaTorah. So before we get too far and start talking about exceptions, let's just look again at line 7. Bachar, Banu, Mikol. So I'll explain why just now it's Mikol and not Mikal, because it says Mikal. Ha'amim, Natan, line 8, Lanu, Et Torato, Noten HaTorah. So there you really just had to deal with the final mem, the final nun, and then on the next line, the final nun. I'll just go through this next sort of line 9 and 10, which is also, you'll recognize, but again, they've left out bits, so it's a bit hard to follow. Ner shel Shabbat. Easy enough, no final letters. Anu Shira Rabbah. Mi, line 10, mi, kamocha, quite a hard word, ka, mo, cha, ba, kodesh, or se, fele. So you see they've sort of just got some phrases. Line 11 and 12, kakatuv, al yad, mi pinu, lo yamush. Line 12, beini ot hi, ki sheshet yamim. So you can see some of these lines have silent letters, some of them don't have silent letters. But really what you can see is that you can't read the prayer book without the silent letters. And you can also see that you are now reading the prayer book quite successfully. So if you can read these lines here, then really you are reading the prayer book. You are reading the prayer book successfully. So any questions about these lines that we've been through? If you have the book in front of you, it is page 65. Any questions about any of those lines?
Maybe just where Mikal is Mikol.
So let's talk about that. So here this vowel, I've always told you, like as in ha'amim, that it's got exactly the same sound as the without the stick below. That doesn't have the little T. And it's true, it does have the same sound, but once in a long while, not often, this particular experiences an exception and is pronounced O instead of A. It's not often, but one of the times it occurs is in the word kol. And kol means all. So it's a common word in the prayer book. Mikol ha'amim. Mikol melachto asher asa. It's a word we come across often, and unfortunately it's got this little exception where this becomes an O. And in the Kiddush, there are two. So again, often the first thing a bar mitzvah child learns to read is the Kiddush, and now you've got to say to them, sorry, but there's an exception. Really, really awful. But anyway, that's what it is. So then you'll say, well, how do we know there's an exception? Because you'll be told or you'll hear it. But just be aware of the fact that sometimes the longer experiences an exceptional moment and transforms itself into an O. So, Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim.
Is there any way of knowing when it's going to be?
Unfortunately not, because it doesn't follow a rule and it's not really meant to be that way. It's obviously just sort of usage over time.
Okay.
And what they should have done somewhere along the line is they should have made it an or, but they didn't. So you'll just be told when to have that exception. Okay, any other questions on these? So,
The off the card, that's another exception.
where,
Leofdecha.
that's right, Brian. It's not on this page, is it?
No.
But you
I
just
just
remember it.
remember.
Well done, Brian. Leofdecha, Levav Shalem, to serve you. La'avod, to serve or to work. Leofdecha is written le'avdecha, but it's off. Well done, Brian. And we'll point out others as we come across them.
You just
Okay.
got to know them.
You just got to know them.
Thank you. You
All
made me
right.
feel good.
Good, well done. No, you know, Brian, you actually know, well, I shouldn't say actually, you read Hebrew very well. Okay, so my aim now, it's 6:10 already. So let's just do the first 3 lines on this. But really what I'm going to ask you to do for homework is pages 66 and 67 are basically practice. So what they do is they take everything you've learned up to now and they throw it all at you. Here's Reva, including the final letters, but it's not only the final letters. They throw everything at you. So honestly, if you can read 66 and 67, which we're going to work on for homework and then again next week, then there is really just, it's like you ran the Comrades Marathon and you're at the finish line and all you got to do, you got to put like 1 foot over, which sometimes is hard. But if you can get here, then definitely you're not just well on your way, you're at the end. So I just want to welcome Reva. Hello, Reva. We know you had a long and complicated day. We're very glad you joined us.
Sorry, just let me tell you that I was stuck in the traffic from Sandton to here and trying to connect from my car. Yeah, I was at a conference the whole day with the Gauteng legislature and the board and economic development, but it finished at 5 and I thought I'd have no problem to get to my office by 5:30. Well, no, like I've been stuck in the traffic all the way. So
Sorry,
my apologies. Sorry to everyone, and may I make this up with you privately?
With pleasure, Reva. Of course, let's do that. And let's do it because it's an important lesson. So let's definitely make time to do it. And it's funny, I was saying to my daughter Tembi on the way to school yesterday, suddenly there's traffic.
You don't know what traffic.
Everybody is getting into their car again, and actually, thank God.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. It was bumper to bumper from the top of Catherine Avenue on the highway. It took me nearly an hour to get here.
Terrible. Okay, so what we've learned today, we've learned the final letters, and I'm just going to read lines 1 to 3, and then the rest we're going to give as homework.
Okay.
Eden, Eden, as in Eden. Elef. These are all real words, by the way. Adom. Anyone know what the word Adom means? Magen David Adom. Adom. Anyone know?
Isn't it the earth?
Lawrence?
Red, the color red.
Red. The color red.
Magen
David Adom. The red Magen David. So just like there's the red cross, there's the red crescent, there's the red Magen David Adom, the red Magen David, the emergency health service. Eretz, you all know what that means. Eretz, the land of. Akum and Ach. Eden, Elef, Adom, Eretz, Akum, and Ach. Any questions, line 1? Line 2, Banim, Baruch, very important word, Baruch, Beged, Bikesh, Baal, and Bam. Zibarta Bam. We speak of them. Baal Harachamim, the master. Line 2, Banim, Baruch, Beged, Bikesh, Baal, Bam. Line 3, Gan, Gadol, Gorin, Gomel, Gam, Gefen, and Gad. Anyone recognize any words there? Line 3.
Male, Chasadim Tovim.
That's right. Gomel Chasadim Tovim, the bearer of good deeds. What else?
What's gun? Gun, what does that mean, gun?
Gan, that's right. Gan Eden. Gan, the Garden of Eden. Gan is a garden.
Garden.
And funnily enough, when Hebrew was being sort of rewritten as a modern language in the 1920s and 30s, they had to make up certain words because they didn't occur naturally in the language because it was an ancient language. So one of them was the word kindergarten. A kindergarten, like what would we call it today, a nursery school?
Yeah.
So what is, Mom, you know this because you speak a bit of German. What does kindergarten mean?
It's a nursery school.
But what does it mean literally?
Garden for children.
Yeah.
God.
A garden for children. So somehow in German, the idea of a nursery school goes to the word garden. A kindergarten. So what did they do in Hebrew? They did the same.
Gan Eden.
So a gan is a nursery school in Hebrew. It's a garden, but it's also a nursery school. If you say, I'm taking the kids to gan, I'm taking the kids to nursery school. I'm taking the little ones to gan. I'm taking them to nursery school. Why is it a garden? I don't know why it's a garden, but in German it was a garden, so it became a garden in Hebrew.
Well, the word nursery speaks for itself.
Yes, I suppose that's right. A nursery. I mean, a nursery is a plant nursery, but if you say the children are in the nursery, you didn't say that they wanted to be with the plants. They were in a room with the nanny, I suppose. So anyway, interesting. Be interesting to know why a children's play facility should be thought of as a garden in many languages. But anyway, there you have it.
It may also have been in Yiddish.
In Yiddish?
They got a lot of their words from Yiddish.
Yes, Yiddish. So it must have been from the Yiddish, not the German. That's right. Anyone else recognize any word there in line 3?
Gadol.
Gadol, large.
Geffen.
Geffen, Pliha, Gaffen. Geffen is a van. Well done. And then the word gam means also. Gam. Yes.
What does gomel mean?
Gomel, the bearer of, the doer of, the bearer of. Ligmol, to bear, to carry. So gomel chasadim tovim, we're talking to God, we say you are the bearer, you are the carrier of good deeds. Gomel chasadim tovim. So there's line 3. All right, let me just do one more line 4, and then I think we stop. Line 4. Derech.
Road.
That's right. Derech.
Derech Eretz.
That's right. The way of the earth. Dorot. So who recognizes the word? What do you recognize in Dorot?
Door, generation.
That's right. Ledor vador. Ledor vador, from one generation to the next. Dorot, plural. Generations. Dorot. Dalim. Damim.
Yamim.
Darash. Derech, Dorot, Dalim, Damim, Darash. All right, let me be undisciplined and do one more. Holech. Now, can you see that the word holech and the word derech have something in common?
Not really.
Derech and holech
Like is to move, to go.
Lalichet. So to walk, to move.
Oh, yeah. Derek, go on the road.
Haran, harim, hain,
Pain.
hadaf, and who. All right, we've done the first 5 lines. So for homework and what we're going to do next week is pages 66 and 67. We've done the first 5 lines. There are 11 lines on page 66, and then there are another 12 lines on page 67. Let's see if by the end of next week we can all be reading those comfortably. And then if there's time, we'll introduce next week the Shva, the silent letter, that's lesson 9. Or we'll just consolidate everything that we've done so far. But I would say, aside from practice, we are 2 or 3 lessons away from the end of the course. Maximum 4, if we add a bit in for practicing. So please, for homework, go over those lines. Reva, you and I will make a time to meet each other on the Zoom.
Sure.
Even have a coffee in Tyrone Avenue if you want, and sit with the books.
Wow, that would be a treat to go out and look at a human being and talk.
That's right. That's right. We can sit outdoors, or we can go to Izzy's. You know, the Holocaust Center has the most wonderful coffee shop, and it's all
Really? Okay,
outdoors.
what is it?
It's got shade, but it's
Okay.
outdoors. They open from very early. They open from 7:30 in the morning, so one can also
Right.
meet there for coffee. Very nice.
Okay, thank you so much, Leo. My apologies again, but it was
Not at
I
all.
Okay.
And even those who can read Hebrew well join us, so we're very grateful for that. Cassia and Harriet both apologize tonight. Harriet is coming back from Nature's Valley, and Cassia has her son's 18th birthday, so mazel tov to him. But otherwise, thank you, Reva. We see each other again soon, and next week for more Hebrew.
Right. And on behalf of Temple Israel, Hillbrow, Johannesburg, South Africa, even if it's only the 7 of us listening to each other, thank you, Leo, for another really fabulous lesson. You have a unique way of teaching, and I'm an impossible student, and you've completely won me over. So on behalf of all of us, thank you. Shavua Tov.
Thanks, Leo. Thanks,
Thank you,
Reva.
everybody. Reva, you are reading very nicely. Not an impossible student at all.
Thank you. And Baruch Hashem, see some of you on Friday and some on Saturday. All my love. Bye.
Lots of love. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Be well.